Okay, for today's drop day, I wanted you to spend some time on the web development section of CS50's CS50T section, the last section of hardware called web development. Now, there is a long, hour-long video all about this, um, HTML and web development and all that, but I'm going to call out a few specific things that I want you to spend time and pay attention on. If you want to rewatch or kind of preview at speed the first 20 minutes of the lecture video from David, you might want to consider running it at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. Here's the highlights of what I want you to cover, or at least have in your notes. What is HTML, paragraph heading tags, image tags, link tags, lists, tables, forms, and CSS, and make sure that you understand what the DOM is and what is curl. Okay, so those are in the video, and or you can look about. What I've said is that you should use resources from CS50 and W3 Schools, but you should not be using any AI tools, Google searches, etc., just simply because of currency, right? We know that W3 Schools is the most up-to-date and has the most accurate stuff. So what you're going to do for this assignment is create a page forked from a link in my CodePen page and recreate some of the basic tools listed here. How you implement that is I'm going to leave it a little bit up to you. I'm going to show a demo, but you don't have to do the same thing. But if you're stuck for ideas, you can certainly follow along. So a little bit about HTML, real basics here. I want you to think about HTML as a three-legged stool. Okay, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is really the content. CSS, or cascading style sheets, is the look, the feel, the graphics, the coloring, the mood board, whatever you want to call it. And JavaScript is often the interactivity. We're going to spend the majority of time on HTML, but just be familiar with those things. Okay, so let's talk about the HTML tag. What is it? So it's a funky looking thing with greater than less than symbols, and it's part of a hypertext markup language, which simply means that the origin of this was that researchers who wanted to create the first kind of connected network, internet, or whatever, wanted to have their research linked to different parts of a page or linked to other research. And so that's where the idea of hyperlinks came along. And Tim Berners-Lee was really credited with HTTP protocols, but also a hypertext markup language, and wrote a basic scripted language that allow us to create web pages that would appear one way on a page, but easily send over code over the internet and allow us to write basic code, but display it as a nice web page, etc. So when we think about, here's an example from David's lecture. This is a very basic HTML page, and notice it's got the doc type starting out, HTML tags with the greater than less than symbols, and you begin to notice this kind of structure of nesting, right? So we talk about matryoshkas or matryoshkas, the Russian nesting dolls. You may have seen videos for them jumping in and out of each other. And the idea is simply that most tags will nest one inside another. So for example, we've got the title tag is inside the head section, which is inside the HTML tag. So the head tag, which indicates information about the page but is not showing content of the page, contains things like the meta tags and the title tag. And the title tag displays up in the tab of your browser what you decide is the title of that specific page. Inside the body tag is basically any of the content that shows up inside the web page body itself. That's the area below the address bar and the menu bars or the bookmark bars. And so anything that shows up inside the body tag is what's called the viewable section of the page. So there are lots of different tools and code that we can use with this, but we generally have kind of followed two ideas or two rules, is that most tags will nest one inside the other, and in the golden rule of if you open a tag, you should close it. So here we have the body tag open, and the pair with that, or the tag that goes with it, has the closing tag mark, which is the /. So here, the title, open tag, close tag, head, open tag, close tag. There are, of course, exceptions, right, to every one of these rules, but we'll see some more examples like that. Okay, so let's switch over and look at how we might create a web page. I'm going to ask that you use CodePen, and CodePen is simply a website that allows you to edit work inside of a page, and you simply choose to pen or to code a new page, and there's some neat features that we'll talk about as well. So here's an example of a page that I've got started in some kind of preview. I'm just going to wipe away this page, and I'm going to start from scratch, and what you'll notice is that after a second my code disappears. Okay, so I'm going to use some of the elements from the CS50 blocks, and I'm going to add a few of my own to kind of walk along. And recall that I'm looking for these kind of main elements: paragraph, headings, images, links, lists, tables, forms, and CSS. And you certainly may add to this, but kind of let's think about a bare bones. So we're going to start with a very basic tag that is going to go with every HTML page we'll create, and that is the doc type. Now, it does not have a complement, it does not have a pair closing it. But from here on forward, most of what we'll create is an opening and a corresponding closing page. Okay, and inside that, we're going to have two pairs of tags that are not nested. One is the head tag, and one is the body tag. Okay, and inside the head tag, we might have tags like the title tag. Okay. And again, this is not something that shows up in the page. As you can see, it would actually show up in the tab if we looked at the top of our browser window. Okay, so we just started with an absolute basic page here, and then we're just going to add elements. And I'm going to work inside. Most of what I'm going to do today is just going to be the body tag. So I'm just going to move some of these things out of the way. And you notice that the indentation is not really required. It's just helpful for readability. So I'm just going to move a couple of things out of the way and give me more room to work here. So inside the body tag, let's have a heading for the page. And heading tag is exactly that. It gives that heading to the page and size 1 all the way down to size 6. Okay, but you choose the size. In this case, an H1 tag is going to be pretty large. My web page. Close the H1 tag, and you see that the CodePen tool kind of redraws this page pretty quick on the fly. And then I'm going to add some other items. So I'll have a paragraph tag, and I'm going to do part of it now and come back to the second part. I'm just going to say, I'm a teacher at Seven Hills. Close that paragraph tag, and then I'll open up a new paragraph tag, and they are exactly that, just paragraphs. My favorite ice cream. And we'll close the paragraph tag. And I want to create a list of items. And I have two ways of doing this. So creating lists, if you think about lists or bullets in Microsoft Word or Google Docs or whatever, usually has something that looks like a bulleted list or something like a numbered list. Okay, and in order to do that, we have some code for that, and we just choose, do we want a bulleted list or a numbered list? So the first time around, I'm going to choose a numbered list or an ordered list. So we have a tag called OL, and I'm going to close my ordered list. And inside this, I'm going to have 3 items. And each of those items in the list have li tags. Okay, and I'm going to do some copy and pasting. And each of those tags, I'll create an item that I want to be numbered. And you see already, is just kind of drawing up here for me. And I'll just add the items to that list. So it's already numbered, and it's numbered in a sequential order. So I'm just going to put some of my favorite flavors. Raspberry chip, easy choice. Do an old one, kind of classic. And then, okay. Fine, great. Now, what you'll notice, hopefully, is that I've got a set of list item tags for each of the items in the list wrapped in the ordered list tags because this is in a specific order. Okay, so OL is for ordered list, and then inside the OL, each item is going to be wrapped in opening and closing list item tags. Let's repeat that again, but I'm just going to use some copy and paste for ease of use here. And I want to kind of reuse some of this code, but I'm going to make some changes. So if I just wanted a bulleted list without numbers, I'm going to use UL for unordered list, and notice that it already changed that for me. And if I come over here, I have an unordered list. But let's kind of give it a little bit of structure here. So we'll say my favorite teams. And again, we're inside of a paragraph tag. And then I will choose, I don't know, I'll say University of Tennessee football, a college team, and then I'll say, I don't know, Chicago Bears, which is NFL. And then we'll go with rugby, New Zealand All Blacks. And that's a rugby team. I don't know if it's hyphenated or whatever. So if I look over here, what I'm starting to see is just a little bit of structure here, right? So without those elements, it would just look like a continuous line of text. So we're breaking lines up into paragraphs, we're organizing chunks into list items, right? And then we're differentiating those lists in ordered lists, OL, and unordered lists, UL. So now you can kind of follow along what I have here so far. I'm going to add some more things to my page. I want to add images, links, and tables. Okay, and notice as I'm typing them, there's no real structure to this, so they just show up as continuous text, even though I hit enter. Okay, so an image. I want to use an image. In this case, I'm going to use the image tag. And an image tag actually needs an attribute or a specifier inside the tag called the source attribute or parameter. And I need to put inside there the link to that and wrap that in quotes. Now notice what happens is this link is broken because it cannot find a link to that. So I will fix that momentarily and put in a URL of an image. So you might want to go to like Google Images and just type in, I don't know, goldfish. And if I search for images in the goldfish, don't know why I got that one. Right? I mean, see a funny goldfish or something like that. Hard to get the link to that. So what you can do is control click or right click and open the image in the new tab and see if the end of the URL has the file type of this, right? And what are we looking for? We're looking for a JPEG. So if I just enter that, now I have a URL for the image. So I'm just going to copy that. I'll just copy that whole URL. I'll go back to my page and I'm going to just paste that in. Okay. Now you saw what happened there with the image itself. Something is a little bit wonky in how it's displaying. Oh my goodness, look at that. That fish is enormous. So what if I added some property to it that outside the quotes, either before or after, I'm just going to set the width equal to 100 pixels. Okay. And let's see what that does. Oh, that's better. You know what? I have a little more room. Let's set it to 250 pixels. Okay, reasonable. So what I can do is give the URL of the image from the web and then set some properties like the width and height. If it was square, if I wanted to maintain what we call the aspect ratio, the same width and height that it was online, I can choose one of those to set, okay? A link is just a hyperlink, like a link to another page. And recall that I said I'd come back to it here. So I want to make Seven Hills, this text up here, a link to the Seven Hills website. So what I'm going to do is add the anchor tag to both sides of the text that I want to make the hyperlink on. Okay, and by itself, it doesn't really do anything until I add the hyperlink reference, href, and the source of that. Again, like an image, I'm going to put the URL of the item that I want. So I'm going to put the kind of full URL here, https://sevenhills.org. We don't use the www as much anymore. It's kind of dropped by the wayside. But now notice what this does, and if I control click on it, I can open up in a new website, and there's my page. Okay, and I just control click so I didn't lose my progress here. Finally, I want to do a table. Okay, and a table is a great way of laying out organization. So I'm going to use the table tag and close the table tag, because it's definitely a nested. And in each table, if I think about it like a spreadsheet or something like that, right, we have rows and we have columns. And if we build the rows and columns accordingly, then each row might have multiple columns or cells inside of it. So I'm just going to start with the table row tag and close the table row tag. And then inside that, I'll have what's called the table data tag. So each cell has table data. Okay, and all I'm seeing is this dot down here, so I'll put something in there. Maybe I'll put my schedule, so I'll say bio, and let's make some multiple copies of this. So copy, paste, paste, and then cam and math. But it doesn't really look like a table, does it? In fact, it's going kind of across the page. So what if I did a couple things? First, I'm going to fix it so it actually looks like a table to me and add a property called the border. And years ago, they took away or changed the default property of this so the tables didn't have a border because they used it as a layout tool. So now I'm going to have a border of 1, and I'll say padding, which is room around it, equals 2. Okay, so doesn't like that, so we'll turn that off for now and just leave that alone. And I'm going to make multiple copies of this row and column combination, and build it like so. And then what if I change this so that we had nothing in this cell? I said A day and B day, and then on A days. What did you notice about how this works? So this is a little odd that as I go down columns, I'm going to have to work in each individual row. So I see where the A day is. I have chem, and I'm going to add 2 more rows to this. So I'll highlight, and now I've got 4. Okay, that shows up, and I want a kind of a placeholder there. So I'll leave an empty spot where bio is. All right, and let's make this chem first block, then history, then English, and my last class is computer science. We'll shorten it. And then on B days, I might have math, and I might have physics, and I'm going to have art, and what have I forgotten? I'll take music class. English, math, sciences. Okay. Did everything show up okay? I see, there's little kind of remnants of biology there is left over. Okay, so now it's cleaned up, but I've got a space here. I'm not sure I like that. So we'll fix that space. Maybe we can put something like time in there, and then we can go back and add that time. And I really want to kind of change this table so it looks kind of neater across the top. I'm going to change these TDs to a third tag. So we got table, TR, TD, right? So TR and TD are inside the table tag, and the T is inside the TR tag. But there's another one I can use, TH, called table heading. And the nice thing about CodePen is if I change the one, it'll change the pair to it. And notice it just kind of makes it a little bit more bold, like a header, etc. Okay, so let's kind of look and see what I've got so far. I've got the HTML tag, I've got the head tag, I've got a title tag inside the head tag, I've got the body tag for everything on the page, I mean H1 paragraph tag, hyperlink tag, or the anchor tag is actually called. I've got more P tags, ordered list with list items inside of it, unordered list, that's like bullets without numbers with list items inside of it. I have an image tag, I have a table tag, and inside the table tag we have TRs, and inside the TRs we have TH or TDs, okay? And we just got some real kind of basic tools, but practicing this will actually make sense, okay? Now, you can certainly explore a little bit more, and if I added some CSS, right, I'd have to link that. Now, if you want to go a little bit above and beyond, by all means, feel free. But here's what I recommend you do. I want you to head over to W3 Schools. And again, it's the ones who make the internet. They make the web, they write the rules, etc., etc. So if I go to HTML, then there are tutorials for all that stuff, including styles, right? So I can have style attributes, but that only works on one specific page. If I'm making a whole website, like Seven Hills, with all the different pages about all the different divisions and departments and athletics and academics, then probably better would be to have a cascading style sheet. And that's a style sheet that a whole website can link to or connect to. Okay, so you can explore this as well. Right, here's a little how to include it. Right, so again, if you don't have to do all of these tutorials, but you can kind of hunt around. So if I just wait and say CSS link, right, then I'm using their built-in search, and I can find out how to add CSS. Here's a link here, and it brings me to this page. And notice that inside the head tag, where I also have the title tag, I've got a link tag that says connect to what's called the style sheet and use the hyperlink reference of mystyle.css. And then inside that, I might style that page. So if I look at mystyle.css, then I could see, well, what made it that blue page, etc. Okay, so again, you can kind of go through some of these tutorials and it'll explain, and here's mystyle.css. So it's actually two different files. So let's see if I created this mystyle.css on my web page in CodePen. And I'm just going to go CSS, link that. Okay. Now, it linked automatically even though I didn't put that in. So let's just get some practice doing that. I've got my title tag, and I'm going to call that out. So I'm going to use the link tag as described here. I go back to my page. There's a link. Relation to the other page is going to be a style sheet. So I'll just copy this. And yes, I know it's already working, but if I just do that, then I force that to make sure. Now, if I break it, right, and I make it mystyle2.css, it still kind of persists. So it's kind of cheating in the background, but at least you're kind of having a chance to see that, right? So we're not going to worry too much about that nitty gritty right now, but you can see how it styled the page. What did it do? Well, let's look at those rules. It said the body tag is going to have a background color of light blue. So anything inside the body tag, which is the whole browser page, right, starting from here and going all the way down to here, right, is going to have a background blue. And if we have a heading, make the color of the text navy. How would I make something different? Well, follow this along. We have a tag, let's say paragraph tag. We're going to create a rule for it. And so CodePen automatically indents those. And if I have a P tag, right, then I could say, well, set the color to green. Would that work? It looks awful, but it would actually work. Let's make it red and see what happens. Okay, so why didn't these work? Well, these are actually inside ordered lists and unordered lists. So I can make an ordered list set here and say color is yellow, semicolon to finish that off. But it only did the ordered set. What if I said, well, anything in a list? So all list items. Now, again, a horrible choice of colors, I know. But you get the idea that I can just add some different rules to create some basics of this. So, what's your assignment? Your assignment is to take the link in the page, make your own version of this, clean it up, whatever, and then kind of play with it, test it. If you'd like to try and explore CSS and even JavaScript, by all means, just try and get a working page, and then you'll share, once you've saved it, you'll share that page, okay? So you come down to the lower right corner where it says share. It's not working for me because my head's in the way. And if you just copy that link, you can paste that copied link into Canvas as your URL submission. All right. Hope this helps. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.